September 26, 1918 dawned gray and foreboding over the Meuse-Argonne sector, where Obergefreiter Klaus Müller crouched in the muddy German trench, his Gewehr 98 rifle slick with morning dew. The 22-year-old Bavarian had survived 3 years of the Great War's carnage, but nothing had prepared him for what was about to emerge from the American lines that autumn morning. Müller adjusted his Pickelhaube helmet and peered through the pre-dawn gloom toward the enemy positions. Intelligence reports had warned of a massive American offensive, but the German Fourth Army under General Friedrich von Lossberg felt confident in their defensive positions. The Hindenburg Line had held against countless Allied assaults, and these fresh-faced Americans, despite their numbers, were still considered inexperienced compared to battle-hardened German veterans. The silence was shattered at precisely 5:30 that morning, when American artillery began the largest bombardment in United States military history. Over 2,700 guns unleashed hell upon the German positions, with shells screaming overhead in an endless metallic symphony of destruction. Müller pressed himself against the trench wall as dirt and debris rained down, the concussive force of the explosions making his ears ring and his vision blur. As reported in contemporary accounts from the New York Times war correspondents, this barrage would continue for nearly 3 hours, pulverizing German defensive positions across a 24-mile front. The American Expeditionary Forces under General John Joseph Pershing had committed over 1,200,000 troops to this offensive, the largest American military operation to that point in history. When the artillery finally ceased, an eerie quiet settled over no man's land. Müller wiped mud from his eyes and checked his rifle, knowing that the infantry assault would follow within minutes. Through the smoke and haze, he could see movement in the American trenches 400 yards away. Shadowy figures were emerging, moving with a purpose and coordination that seemed different from previous attacks. Lieutenant Heinrich Weber crawled along the trench checking on his men. The 30-year-old Prussian officer had commanded this section since the spring offensive failures, and his weathered face showed the strain of months of defensive fighting. "Prepare yourselves," he whispered to his soldiers. "The Amerikaner are coming, and they have new weapons." Weber had received disturbing intelligence reports from other sectors about American troops carrying strange new automatic weapons, something the German High Command was calling machine pistols. These weapons, reportedly called Thompson submachine guns by the Americans, had appeared in limited numbers during recent skirmishes, but their effectiveness remained largely unknown to frontline German troops. The first American soldiers appeared through the wire, moving in small groups rather than the massive waves typical of earlier Allied attacks. Müller squinted through the smoke, trying to identify their weapons. Some carried the familiar Springfield rifles, but others held shorter, more compact firearms that he didn't recognize. These mysterious weapons would soon revolutionize close-quarters combat. As the Americans advanced across no man's land, Müller noticed their tactical approach was different. Instead of charging directly into machine gun fire, they moved tactically, using shell craters and terrain features for cover. The surviving German machine gun positions opened fire, but the Americans seemed prepared for this, immediately seeking cover and returning accurate suppressive fire. What Müller couldn't know was that these advancing American troops included elements of the 3rd Infantry Division and the 79th Infantry Division, units that had been specifically equipped with the revolutionary Thompson submachine gun. Designed by General John Taliaferro Thompson, these weapons fired the powerful .45 caliber cartridge at a rate of nearly 800 rounds per minute, giving individual soldiers unprecedented close-range firepower. The morning mist began to clear, and Müller could see the Americans were now within 200 yards of the German trenches. Their advance had been methodical and professional, nothing like the chaotic charges he had witnessed from British and French forces. Something was fundamentally different about this attack, and a cold dread began to settle in his stomach as the enemy drew ever closer to his position. The first burst of automatic fire that shattered the morning calm came not from German machine guns, but from the advancing American infantry. Gefreiter Hans Schneider, positioned 30 yards to Müller's left, suddenly jerked backward as multiple rounds struck the sandbags around his position. The sound was unlike anything the German defenders had heard before. A rapid, controlled burst rather than the continuous chatter of a machine gun or the methodical crack of rifle fire. Lieutenant Weber raised his field glasses, trying to identify the source of this new threat. Through the smoke and cordite haze, he he could see American soldiers crouched in shell craters, holding weapons that appeared to be firing automatically. These couldn't be machine guns. They were too small, too mobile, and the Americans were carrying them like rifles while advancing. Sergeant Major Otto Kellner, a veteran of the Somme and Verdun, crawled toward Weber's position. The grizzled non-commissioned officer's face was pale beneath the mud and stubble. "Herr Lieutenant," he gasped, "these Americans have automatic rifles. I've never seen anything like it. They're cutting down our boys like wheat." Weber ordered his remaining men to concentrate their fire on the advancing Americans, but the enemy had learned from 3 years of Allied mistakes. Instead of presenting easy targets, they moved in bounds, with some soldiers providing covering fire while others advanced. The new American weapons proved devastatingly effective at suppressing German defensive positions, allowing their infantry to close the distance rapidly. Muller watched in horrified fascination as an American soldier emerged from a crater barely 50 yards away. The man held a compact weapon with a distinctive drum magazine, and when he squeezed the trigger, the gun erupted in controlled bursts that swept across the German parapet. The psychological effect was immediate and overwhelming. German soldiers who had withstood years of conventional attacks suddenly faced an enemy that could deliver machine gun-like firepower from individual weapons. The tactical implications became clear as more American troops reached the forward edge of no man's land. Traditional defensive tactics relied on riflemen engaging individual targets at range, supported by machine guns covering specific fields of fire. The Thompson submachine gun rendered much of this doctrine obsolete by giving ordinary infantry soldiers the ability to lay down suppressive fire while advancing. As documented in military records from the National Archives, the American forces in the Meuse-Argonne offensive had been equipped with approximately 15,000 Thompson submachine guns, distributed primarily to assault troops and trench-clearing specialists. The weapon's .45 caliber round, while lacking the range of standard rifle ammunition, proved devastatingly effective in close-quarters combat. Feldwebel Gustav Richter commanded the German strongpoint anchoring the left flank of Meller's section. The 35-year-old career soldier had survived the retreat from the Marne and the desperate fighting around Passchendaele, but nothing had prepared him for the firepower now being directed at his position. American soldiers were advancing in small teams, each equipped with these mysterious automatic weapons that seemed to fire endlessly. The first Americans reached the German wire entanglements, and Richter could see them clearly now. They moved with confidence and purpose, cutting through the obstacles with practiced efficiency. Several carried the distinctive Thompson guns, their circular drum magazines gleaming dully in the morning light. When German defenders attempted to engage them, these weapons responded with withering bursts of automatic fire that forced the defenders to keep their heads down. Muller felt his hands trembling as he worked the bolt of his rifle. He had fired dozens of rounds at the advancing Americans, but hitting moving targets while under such intense suppressive fire proved nearly impossible. The psychological pressure of facing an enemy equipped with what seemed like unlimited automatic firepower was beginning to tell on even veteran German soldiers. The breakthrough came suddenly and decisively. A team of American assault troops, each carrying Thompson submachine guns, concentrated their fire on a 30-yard section of German trench. The volume of fire was so intense that the German defenders couldn't return effective fire, and within minutes, the Americans had carved a gap in the defensive line. Weber recognized the critical moment and attempted to organize a counterattack, but his surviving soldiers were scattered and demoralized. The appearance of these new American weapons had fundamentally altered the tactical balance of trench warfare. For the first time in the war, attacking infantry possessed firepower comparable to defending machine gunners, and the psychological impact on German morale was catastrophic. As the first American soldiers prepared to enter the German trenches, Müller realized that everything he had learned about warfare over the past 3 years was about to become obsolete. The age of the bolt-action rifle and bayonet charge was ending, and a new era of automatic weapons and mobile firepower was beginning. The first American soldier to drop into the German trench landed barely 10 feet from Muller's position, his Thompson submachine guns sweeping the narrow confines with trained precision. Private First Class James Patrick O'Sullivan from Boston's Irish neighborhoods had volunteered for the assault troops specifically to carry the new weapon, and his 3 months of intensive training with the Thompson was about to be put to the ultimate test. Muller raised his rifle, but before he could fire, O'Sullivan's Thompson erupted in a controlled burst that shattered the wooden supports above Muller's head, showering him with splinters and forcing him to dive for cover. The confined space of the trench amplified the weapon's report to an almost unbearable level, and the German soldier found himself temporarily deafened by the concussive blasts echoing off the earthen walls. Lieutenant Weber attempted to rally his men for close-quarters combat, drawing his Luger pistol and shouting orders that were barely audible over the chaos. But the Americans entering the trench system were not the inexperienced troops the Germans had expected. These were specially trained assault specialists, each equipped with Thompson submachine guns and trained in the brutal realities of trench-clearing operations. Corporal Michael Anthony Kowalski, a Polish-American steelworker from Pittsburgh, followed O'Sullivan into the trench, his Thompson at the ready. The weapon's .45 caliber rounds proved devastatingly effective in the close confines, where traditional rifle fire was often impractical. The psychological impact of facing multiple automatic weapons in such cramped quarters was immediate and overwhelming for the German defenders. The German defensive system, so effective against conventional rifle-armed infantry, became a death trap when faced with soldiers carrying automatic weapons. Narrow trenches that had provided protection against rifle fire now became killing galleries where Thompson-armed Americans could advance methodically, clearing each section with controlled bursts of automatic fire. Sergeant Major Kellner attempted to organize resistance from a communications trench, but found himself facing an enemy unlike any he had encountered in 4 years of warfare. The Americans moved with tactical sophistication, using their automatic weapons to provide mutual covering fire while advancing through the trench system. Each Thompson gun could lay down suppressive fire equivalent to a light machine gun, allowing American soldiers to maintain continuous pressure on German defensive positions. According to military historians' analyses found in the Army Historical Foundation records, the psychological impact of the Thompson submachine gun in trench warfare was as significant as its tactical effectiveness. German soldiers, conditioned to expect individual rifle fire from attacking infantry, found themselves facing what seemed like an endless stream of automatic weapons fire from ordinary foot soldiers. Muller found himself trapped in a communications bunker with 3 other German soldiers, listening to the distinctive sound of Thompson submachine guns growing closer. The weapon's unique cyclic rate and the hollow reports of .45 caliber cartridges created an unmistakable audio signature that struck fear into German hearts throughout the trench system. Private Wilhelm Becker, barely 18 years old and in combat for less than 2 months, began to sob uncontrollably as the sounds of American automatic weapons drew nearer. The young Württemberg farmer had enlisted with dreams of glorious combat, but the reality of facing enemies equipped with seemingly limitless automatic firepower shattered his romantic notions of warfare. The tactical revolution represented by the Thompson submachine gun was becoming evident in the brutal confines of trench-to-trench combat. American assault troops could advance through narrow passages while maintaining overwhelming firepower, something impossible with conventional bolt-action rifles. The weapon's relatively light weight and compact size made it ideal for the cramped conditions of trench warfare. Feldwebel Richter made a desperate attempt to establish a defensive position at a trench intersection, positioning his few remaining men with their rifles and several stick grenades. But when the Americans appeared around the corner, their Thompson guns opened fire simultaneously, creating a wall of automatic fire that made any return fire impossible. The sound of American voices grew closer, speaking in accented English that many German soldiers recognized from prisoners and intercepted communications. But now these voices carried a confidence that had been absent in earlier American attacks. The psychological effect of possessing superior firepower was evident in the aggressive tactics and determined advance of the Thompson-equipped troops. O'Sullivan paused at a trench junction, reloading his Thompson's distinctive drum magazine with practiced efficiency. The weapon's design allowed for rapid magazine changes, maintaining continuous fire during extended combat. This sustained firepower capability gave American assault troops a decisive advantage in the close-quarters fighting that characterized trench warfare. Miller realized that surrender might be his only option, as the sound of Thompson submachine guns grew louder. The weapon that General Thompson had designed for exactly this type of combat was proving devastatingly effective, fundamentally altering the balance of power in trench warfare and marking the beginning of a new era in military technology. The systematic destruction of German defensive positions accelerated As more American assault troops poured into the trench system, their Thompson submachine guns turning every corner into a potential killing zone. Lieutenant Weber, pressed against the wall of a command bunker, could hear the distinctive chatter of automatic weapons approaching from 3 different directions, indicating that his defensive line had been completely penetrated. Hauptmann Friedrich von Stauffen, commanding the German battalion's reserve company, received increasingly desperate reports from his surviving junior officers. The 43-year-old Bavarian aristocrat had commanded troops since 1914, but the tactical situation developing in his sector defied every principle of defensive warfare he had learned at the Kriegsakademie in Berlin. "Herr Hauptmann," gasped Lieutenant Weber through the field telephone, "the Americans are advancing through our trenches with automatic rifles. We cannot establish any defensive positions. They have firepower comparable to machine gun teams, but they're mobile infantry." Von Stauffen studied his tactical map, trying to comprehend how American infantry could achieve such rapid penetration of prepared defensive positions. Intelligence reports had mentioned new American weapons, but nothing had prepared German commanders for the reality of facing infantry equipped with truly effective automatic weapons. Staff Sergeant Robert Earl Jackson from rural Alabama led his squad through the captured German trenches, his Thompson submachine gun covering each intersection and blind corner. The 26-year-old former cotton farmer had trained extensively with the new weapon at Camp Hancock, Georgia, and understood its tactical applications better than many of his superiors. The German resistance was collapsing not just from the firepower of the Thompson guns, but from the psychological impact of facing an enemy that had achieved tactical superiority in close-quarters combat. German soldiers, trained to expect methodical rifle fire from attacking infantry, found themselves overwhelmed by the sustained automatic fire that American assault troops could maintain. Muller, still trapped in the communications bunker, could hear German voices shouting, "Surrender," in broken English from various points throughout the trench system. The sound of resistance was diminishing rapidly as Thompson-equipped Americans systematically cleared each defensive position with overwhelming automatic fire. As documented in the official history of the American Expeditionary Forces, the effectiveness of the Thompson submachine gun in trench warfare exceeded all expectations. The weapon's combination of portability, firepower, and reliability made it ideal for the close-quarters combat that characterized the final stages of World War I. Corporal Anthony DeMarco, carrying his Thompson through the German communication trenches, encountered a group of 5 German soldiers attempting to establish a defensive position with rifles and grenades. The brief engagement demonstrated the overwhelming tactical advantage of automatic weapons in confined spaces. DeMarco's Thompson could deliver more firepower than all 5 German rifles combined. The collapse of organized resistance accelerated as news of American automatic weapons spread through the German ranks. Soldiers who had withstood years of conventional attacks found themselves facing an enemy that could deliver machine gun-level firepower from individual weapons, fundamentally altering the tactical balance of infantry combat. Feldwebel Gustav Müller, commanding a squad of veteran soldiers in a reserve trench, received orders to counterattack and restore the defensive line. But when his men advanced to engage the Americans, they encountered Thompson-armed troops who could lay down suppressive fire while maintaining mobility, a combination that proved devastating to traditional infantry tactics. Von Stauffen realized that his battalion was facing a technological revolution in infantry warfare. The Thompson submachine gun represented a fundamental shift in the balance between offensive and defensive capabilities, giving attacking infantry the firepower previously available only to machine gun teams. The German ammunition supply system, designed to support bolt-action rifles firing single shots, could not compete with American soldiers carrying automatic weapons with high rates of fire. German defenders found themselves outgunned at the most basic level of infantry combat, unable to maintain effective return fire against enemies equipped with automatic weapons. Lieutenant Weber made the difficult decision to order his surviving soldiers to surrender rather than face annihilation by Thompson-equipped Americans. The weapon that had been designed specifically for trench warfare was proving devastatingly effective, marking the end of an era in military technology and tactics. As the sound of German resistance faded throughout the trench system, it became clear that the Thompson submachine gun had achieved something that 3 years of conventional attacks had failed to accomplish: the rapid, decisive penetration of prepared defensive positions through superior individual firepower and tactical mobility. The aftermath of the American assault revealed the devastating psychological impact that the Thompson submachine guns had inflicted upon the German defenders. Oberarzt Dr. Wilhelm Brenner, the battalion medical officer, moved through the captured trenches, treating wounded German soldiers whose injuries told the story of a new kind of warfare. The wounds caused by the Thompson's .45 caliber rounds were unlike anything Dr. Brenner had seen in 4 years of treating battle casualties. The heavy bullets, fired at close range in the confined space of trenches, created massive trauma that overwhelmed the limited medical resources available to frontline German units. Private Karl Hoffmann lay in a shell crater, clutching a shattered arm, while American medics worked to stop the bleeding. The 19-year-old Silesian had been caught in a burst from Corporal Jackson's Thompson while attempting to surrender, and his wounds demonstrated the devastating power of automatic weapons in close-quarters combat. American Captain William Harrison McKinley, a medical officer with the 79th Infantry Division, established an aid station in the captured German command bunker. The 34-year-old physician from Ohio had treated hundreds of casualties during the Meuse-Argonne offensive, but the nature of injuries caused by Thompson submachine guns required new approaches to battlefield medicine. The psychological casualties were as significant as the physical ones. German soldiers who had survived years of conventional warfare found themselves traumatized by the experience of facing enemies equipped with automatic weapons that could deliver sustained fire in close-quarters combat. Many exhibited symptoms that military doctors were beginning to recognize as shell shock. Muller, now a prisoner of war, sat with his head in his hands as American soldiers processed captured German equipment. The 22-year-old Bavarian had watched his entire squad killed or wounded by Thompson-equipped Americans in less than 10 minutes of close-quarters fighting. According to contemporary medical reports from the Army Medical Museum, the psychological impact of automatic weapons in infantry combat was as significant as their tactical effectiveness. German soldiers reported feelings of helplessness when facing enemies who could maintain continuous automatic fire while advancing. Gefreiter Hans Schneider, severely wounded by Thompson fire, described his experience to American interrogators. "We could not return fire. Every time we raised our rifles, the automatic weapons forced us down. It was like fighting a machine gun, but the machine gun was walking toward us." The German medical system, already strained by 4 years of warfare, could not cope with the types of wounds inflicted by close-range automatic weapons fire. The Thompson's heavy .45 caliber bullets created trauma that required immediate surgical intervention, often unavailable in frontline conditions. American 2nd Lieutenant James Edward Sullivan, commanding a platoon equipped with Thompson submachine guns, reported to his superiors that German resistance had collapsed more rapidly than anticipated. The psychological effect of the automatic weapons appeared to be as important as their firepower in achieving tactical success. The prisoners taken during the assault provided valuable intelligence about German reactions to the Thompson submachine gun. Many reported that rumors of American automatic weapons had spread through German trenches for weeks before the attack, creating apprehension and lowered morale among frontline troops. Dr. Brenner worked desperately to save German soldiers wounded by Thompson fire, but the weapon's effectiveness in close-quarters combat had created casualties beyond the capacity of battlefield medical services. The combination of high-velocity heavy bullets and close-range engagements resulted in wounds that were often fatal. Staff Sergeant Jackson, reloading his Thompson after the assault, reflected on the weapon's impact on infantry combat. The Alabama farmer-turned-soldier had witnessed the complete collapse of German defensive positions in less than 30 minutes. Something that conventional rifle-armed infantry had failed to achieve in months of attacks. The human cost of the Thompson submachine gun's introduction to warfare extended beyond immediate casualties. German soldiers who survived encounters with American automatic weapons carried psychological scars that affected their combat effectiveness for the remainder of the war. American military observers, documenting the assault's aftermath, noted that the Thompson submachine gun had achieved something unprecedented in trench warfare: the rapid, decisive defeat of prepared defensive positions through superior individual firepower. The weapon had fundamentally altered the balance of infantry combat. As medical personnel from both sides worked to treat the wounded, it became clear that warfare had entered a new era. The Thompson submachine gun represented not just a technological advancement, but a fundamental shift in the nature of infantry combat that would have lasting implications for military tactics and strategy. The origins of the weapon that had so devastated German morale lay in the innovative mind of General John Taliaferro Thompson, who had recognized early in the Great War that infantry needed more firepower for close-quarters combat. Working with Theodore Eickhoff and Oscar Payne at the Auto Ordnance Corporation, Thompson had developed what he called a trench broom, specifically for the brutal realities of modern warfare. Colonel James Parker, commanding officer of the American Weapons Development Program, had initially been skeptical of Thompson's design when first presented with prototypes in 1918. The 52-year-old career officer had served in the Philippines and along the Mexican border, but the concept of individual soldiers carrying automatic weapons challenged traditional military doctrine. The engineering challenges of creating a reliable, portable automatic weapon had seemed insurmountable when Thompson began his work in 1916. The Blish lock system, utilizing the differential friction of dissimilar metals under pressure, represented a revolutionary approach to controlling the cyclic rate of automatic weapons. Captain Edward Crossman, the American ordnance officer responsible for evaluating new weapons, had been among the first to recognize the Thompson's potential when testing began at Springfield Armory. The former competitive shooter understood that warfare was evolving beyond the capabilities of bolt-action rifles and single-shot weapons. The production challenges of manufacturing Thompson submachine guns had required innovations in American industrial capacity that would prove valuable beyond military applications. The Auto Ordnance Corporation had pioneered manufacturing techniques for precision automatic weapons that would influence American industry for decades. As documented in technical specifications from the Springfield Armory archives, the Thompson submachine gun's design incorporated lessons learned from 3 years of trench warfare. The weapon's reliability in muddy, adverse conditions made it ideal for the Western Front's harsh environment. First Lieutenant Robert McNamara, an ordnance specialist with the American Expeditionary Forces, had supervised the field testing of Thompson prototypes during the summer of 1918. The young engineer from Massachusetts recognized that the weapon represented a fundamental advancement in infantry capabilities. The tactical doctrine for employing Thompson submachine guns had been developed through intensive training at American camps, where soldiers learned to use the weapon's automatic fire capability in coordination with traditional rifle-armed infantry. This combined arms approach maximized the Thompson's effectiveness while maintaining tactical flexibility. Sergeant Major Patrick O'Brien, a veteran non-commissioned officer responsible for training American troops with the Thompson, had developed many of the close-quarters combat techniques that proved so effective against German positions. The Irish-American career soldier understood that automatic weapons required new approaches to infantry tactics. The logistical challenges of supplying ammunition for Thompson-equipped troops had required significant modifications to American supply systems. The weapon's high rate of fire created unprecedented demands for .45 caliber ammunition, requiring new approaches to battlefield resupply. German intelligence reports, captured after the assault, revealed that Wehrmacht technical specialists had been attempting to understand American automatic weapon capabilities for months. The reports demonstrated German awareness that their enemies possessed superior individual firepower, but showed little understanding of the Thompson's specific capabilities. The manufacturing quality of Thompson's submachine guns had been essential to their battlefield success. American industrial standards, refined through years of precision manufacturing for civilian markets, had produced automatic weapons that could function reliably under the extreme conditions of trench warfare. Major William Henderson, commanding the American Weapons Training Center at Camp Hancock, had supervised the preparation of thousands of soldiers in Thompson's submachine gun employment. The former National Guard officer recognized that effective automatic weapons required specialized training and tactical understanding. The development timeline for the Thompson submachine gun had been remarkably compressed, from initial concept to battlefield deployment in less than 2 years. This rapid innovation cycle demonstrated American industrial and engineering capabilities that would prove crucial in future conflicts. American military doctrine was evolving rapidly to incorporate the lessons learned from Thompson's submachine gun employment. The weapon's success in trench warfare was leading to new concepts of infantry organization and tactics that would influence military thinking for generations. The psychological warfare aspects of the Thompson submachine gun had been largely unintentional, but proved as important as its tactical capabilities. The weapon's distinctive sound and devastating firepower created fear among enemy forces that enhanced its battlefield effectiveness beyond its technical specifications. News of the American breakthrough spread rapidly through German communication networks, carrying with it descriptions of the devastating new automatic weapons that had shattered prepared defensive positions. General Lieutenant Georg von der Marwitz, commanding the German Second Army, received increasingly alarming reports from subordinate units describing American soldiers equipped with automatic rifles of unprecedented effectiveness. The German High Command's reaction to reports of Thompson submachine guns reflected the broader crisis facing the Central Powers in the autumn of 1918. General Erich von Falkenhayn, reviewing intelligence summaries at Supreme Army Command Headquarters, recognized that American industrial capacity was producing weapons that German technology could not match. Hauptmann Ernst Junger, the renowned German officer and writer, encountered Thompson-equipped American forces during fighting near Cambrai. His detailed observations, later recorded in war memoirs, described the psychological impact of facing enemies who could deliver machine gun-level firepower from individual weapons. The tactical implications of American automatic weapons spread beyond the immediate battlefield as German commanders struggled to develop countermeasures. Traditional defensive doctrine, based on the assumption that attacking infantry carried only single-shot rifles, became obsolete when facing Thompson-equipped assault troops. British military observers, witnessing American Thompson submachine gun employment, recognized the weapon's potential impact on future warfare. Major Basil Liddell Hart, the influential military theorist, noted that automatic weapons in individual soldiers' hands represented a fundamental shift in the balance between offensive and defensive capabilities. French Colonel Charles de Gaulle, serving as a liaison officer with American forces, observed Thompson's submachine gun tactics and incorporated these lessons into his developing theories of mobile warfare. The future French leader recognized that automatic weapons would be crucial to the rapid, decisive operations he envisioned. The German propaganda ministry, led by Colonel Nicolai, attempted to minimize reports of American automatic weapon superiority, but frontline soldiers' accounts could not be suppressed. German morale suffered as news spread of American soldiers carrying weapons that seemed to provide unlimited firepower. According to intercepted German communications found in military archives, Wehrmacht technical specialists were desperately attempting to develop countermeasures to American automatic weapons. These efforts, however, were hampered by Germany's deteriorating industrial capacity and resource shortages. The impact on German military doctrine was immediate and profound. Training manuals were hastily revised to address the threat posed by automatic weapons, but these theoretical adaptations could not overcome the fundamental firepower imbalance faced by German infantry. American war correspondents, including Edward Price Bell of the Chicago Daily News, reported extensively on the Thompson submachine gun's battlefield success. These accounts, while subject to military censorship, conveyed the weapon's revolutionary impact to American audiences eager for news of military innovation. The industrial implications of Thompson's submachine gun success extended beyond military applications. American manufacturing techniques developed for automatic weapons production would influence civilian industry for decades, contributing to the technological advantages that would characterize American economic growth. German attempts to capture and reverse engineer Thompson submachine guns met with limited success. The weapons manufacturing required precision tooling and metallurgical expertise that German industry, weakened by years of warfare and blockade, could not replicate effectively. The psychological warfare aspects of Thompson's submachine gun employment were amplified by German soldiers' accounts of American automatic weapons. These reports, spreading through prisoner-of-war camps and medical facilities, contributed to declining German morale throughout the Western Front. Allied military leaders began requesting information about American automatic weapons, recognizing their potential for future operations. The Thompson submachine gun's success in American hands demonstrated the tactical advantages of equipping infantry with effective automatic weapons. The strategic implications of American industrial capacity, demonstrated through Thompson submachine gun production, were not lost on enemy observers. German intelligence assessments recognized that American manufacturing capabilities posed a long-term threat that could not be matched by Central Powers' industrial resources. The evolution of infantry tactics, accelerated by Thompson's submachine gun employment, would influence military doctrine for decades. The weapon's success in American hands demonstrated the importance of individual firepower in modern warfare, leading to fundamental changes in military organization and training. The technological arms race triggered by Thompson's submachine gun success would continue throughout the 20th century, as nations sought to develop automatic weapons that could match American capabilities. This competition would drive innovations in metallurgy, manufacturing, and small arms design for generations. The armistice signed on November 11, 1918, brought an end to active combat, but the impact of the Thompson submachine gun's battlefield debut would resonate through military thinking for decades to come. General John Joseph Pershing, reflecting on American Expeditionary Force's performance, identified the Thompson as one of the key technological advantages that had contributed to American success. In the post-war analysis conducted by the United States War Department, military observers concluded that automatic weapons in individual soldiers' hands represented the future of infantry combat. The Thompson submachine gun had demonstrated that technological superiority could overcome numerical disadvantages and establish defensive positions. The weapon's influence extended beyond American military doctrine, as Allied nations sought to develop similar automatic weapons for their own forces. British, French, and Italian military delegations visited American weapons manufacturers, studying Thompson's submachine gun design principles and manufacturing techniques. Colonel Thompson himself recognized that his trench broom had proven its battlefield effectiveness, but he also understood that future conflicts would require continued innovation in automatic weapons technology. The Auto Ordnance Corporation began developing improved versions that would address lessons learned from combat employment. The German military's post-war assessment of American automatic weapons acknowledged the Thompson submachine gun's decisive impact on infantry combat. German officers, studying their defeat, recognized that technological inferiority had contributed significantly to their inability to maintain defensive positions against American assault troops. Captain McKinley, the medical officer who had treated Thompson submachine gun casualties, published detailed studies of wounds caused by close-range automatic weapons fire. His research contributed to developments in battlefield medicine and highlighted the changing nature of combat injuries in modern warfare. The industrial legacy of Thompson submachine gun production influenced American manufacturing capabilities long after the armistice. Production techniques developed for automatic weapons found applications in civilian industry, contributing to American technological leadership in precision manufacturing. As recorded in the Congressional Investigation into American Military Preparedness, the Thompson submachine gun program demonstrated the importance of innovation in military technology. The weapon's rapid development and battlefield success became a model for future military research and development programs. Staff Sergeant Jackson, returning to Alabama after the war, carried with him the knowledge that American industry could produce weapons superior to any in the world. His experiences with the Thompson submachine gun would influence his post-war career in manufacturing and his understanding of American technological capabilities. The tactical doctrine developed for Thompson submachine gun employment became the foundation for American small unit tactics in future conflicts. The weapon's success in close-quarters combat established principles of automatic weapons employment that would guide American military thinking for generations. European military observers, studying American Thompson submachine gun tactics, recognized that warfare had entered a new era where individual firepower would be decisive. This understanding influenced European military development throughout the interwar period. The psychological impact of Thompson's submachine gun success extended beyond military circles, influencing American confidence in technological solutions to military challenges. The weapon's battlefield effectiveness demonstrated that American innovation could overcome traditional military advantages. Mueller, confined in an American prisoner of war camp, reflected on his encounter with Thompson-equipped American soldiers. The young German veteran understood that he had witnessed the end of one era of warfare and the beginning of another, where technological superiority would be as important as courage or tactical skill. The lessons learned from Thompson submachine gun employment in the Great War would influence American military procurement for decades. The weapon's success established the principle that individual soldiers should be equipped with the most advanced weapons available. The Thompson submachine gun's legacy extended far beyond its immediate battlefield impact, establishing American leadership in automatic weapons technology and demonstrating the importance of industrial innovation in modern warfare. The weapon that had shocked German soldiers in the trenches of France had proven that American ingenuity could revolutionize military technology and determine the outcome of conflicts. 5 years after the armistice, former Obergefreiter Klaus Müller stood in the rebuilt streets of Munich, reading newspaper accounts of American gangsters using Thompson submachine guns in the violent streets of Chicago. The irony was not lost on the former German soldier. The weapon that had shattered his unit's resistance in the trenches of France had found new purpose in American civilian violence. The Thompson submachine gun's post-war evolution demonstrated the dual-edged nature of military innovation. While law enforcement agencies adopted the weapon for legitimate purposes, criminal organizations discovered that the same automatic firepower that had proven decisive in trench warfare could be equally effective in urban conflicts. General Thompson, reflecting on his creation's varied applications, expressed mixed feelings about the weapon's civilian use. The inventor who had designed the trench broom for military purposes watched as his creation became associated with American organized crime during the Prohibition era. Military historians, analyzing the Great War's technological legacy, identified the Thompson submachine gun as a pivotal innovation that had changed infantry combat forever. The weapon's battlefield success had demonstrated that individual soldiers equipped with automatic weapons could overcome prepared defensive positions that had stymied conventional attacks. The German military, rebuilding under post-war restrictions, studied American automatic weapons technology with particular interest. Former officers like Lieutenant Weber, now working in civilian industry, applied lessons learned from facing Thompson-equipped Americans to new engineering challenges. American military planners, preparing for potential future conflicts, recognized that the Thompson submachine gun had established principles of automatic weapons employment that would guide military development for decades. The weapon's success had proven that technological superiority could be as decisive as numerical advantage or tactical skill. According to declassified documents from the National Archives, military intelligence services worldwide studied Thompson submachine gun tactics throughout the 1920s and 30s. The weapon's revolutionary impact on infantry combat influenced military doctrine development in numerous countries. The industrial techniques developed for Thompson production found new applications in civilian manufacturing, contributing to American technological leadership in precision machinery and mass production methods. The weapon's manufacturing legacy extended far beyond its military applications. Former Staff Sergeant Jackson, now operating a successful manufacturing business in Birmingham, Alabama, credited his wartime experience with Thompson submachine guns for teaching him the importance of precision engineering and quality control. The lessons learned from maintaining automatic weapons under combat conditions had prepared him for the challenges of civilian industrial production. The weapon's influence on military education was profound and lasting. The United States Military Academy at West Point incorporated Thompson submachine gun tactics into its curriculum, teaching future officers that automatic weapons would be central to modern infantry operations. This educational emphasis would prove crucial in preparing American military leaders for future conflicts. European military academies similarly revised their curricula to address the lessons learned from American automatic weapons employment. The Saint-Cyr Military Academy in France and the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst in Britain both developed new courses examining the tactical implications of individual automatic weapons. The technological arms race initiated by Thompson submachine gun success continued throughout the interwar period, as nations sought to develop automatic weapons that could match American capabilities. This competition drove innovations in metallurgy, ammunition design, and manufacturing techniques that would prove crucial in future conflicts. Captain Crossman, now working with American ammunition manufacturers, applied his wartime experience with Thompson submachine guns to developing improved cartridges for automatic weapons. His work contributed to advances in ballistics and ammunition design that would benefit both military and civilian applications. The psychological studies conducted on German prisoners who had faced Thompson-equipped Americans contributed to new understanding of combat stress and battlefield psychology. These research efforts, led by American military psychiatrists, established foundations for modern combat psychology and soldier mental health programs. The strategic implications of American industrial capacity, demonstrated through Thompson submachine gun production, influenced international relations throughout the 1920s and 30s. Foreign observers recognized that American manufacturing capabilities represented a potential military advantage that could not be ignored. Former Dr. Brenner, now practicing civilian medicine in Berlin, continued to study wounds caused by automatic weapons based on his wartime experience treating Thompson casualties. His research contributed to advances in trauma surgery and emergency medicine that benefited civilian healthcare. The Thompson submachine gun's cultural impact extended beyond military and industrial applications, becoming a symbol of American technological innovation and industrial capability. The weapon's success story became part of American national mythology about the country's ability to develop superior technology when challenged. Military museums worldwide displayed Thompson submachine guns as examples of decisive military innovation, educating future generations about the importance of technological superiority in modern warfare. These exhibits highlighted the weapon's role in changing the nature of infantry combat forever. The final assessment of the Thompson submachine gun's impact on the Great War recognized that the weapon had achieved something unprecedented: the rapid, decisive defeat of prepared defensive positions through superior individual firepower. This achievement had fundamentally altered military thinking about infantry weapons and tactics. As the world moved toward another great conflict in the late 1930s, military planners on all sides understood that automatic weapons would play a central role in future warfare. The lessons learned from the Thompson submachine gun's battlefield debut in 1918 had established principles that would guide military development for generations. The legacy of that September morning in 1918, when Thompson-equipped American soldiers had shocked German defenders in the trenches of the Meuse-Argonne, continued to influence military thinking decades later. The weapon that had ended one era of warfare had ushered in another, where technological innovation and individual firepower would determine the outcome of battles and wars. Muller, now a successful businessman in post-war Germany, occasionally shared his experiences with younger Germans who had not witnessed the Great War. His accounts of facing American soldiers equipped with Thompson submachine guns served as cautionary tales about the importance of technological preparedness and the devastating impact of superior weapons in the hands of determined soldiers. The Thompson submachine gun had proven that American ingenuity, industrial capacity, and technological innovation could overcome even the most formidable defensive positions. This lesson would resonate through American military thinking for generations, establishing confidence in technological solutions that would characterize American approaches to future conflicts throughout the 20th century and beyond.